and I don't want to torture this scumbag. I just want to put him out of his misery like we would do a rabid dog. Get it over and done with, put him out of his misery.
If he suffers, and I hope he does suffer, and maybe I'm a bit more harsh than you, I hope he does suffer. Unbelievably heartbreaking what happened, isn't it? And the fact that it could have been, I don't like to turn these sort of things into just politics, but I'm sorry, you have to look at how this was allowed to happen. Um, the it's no consolation to the parents now, is it? But the guy was referred to that prevent rubbish, what, 3 times? He was caught, Yvette Cooper said this, he was caught in possession of a knife 10 times. Nothing was done. His own father stopped him getting in a taxi a week earlier when he feared that he was going to do something like this, yet nothing was said. And rightly, the people of Liverpool, the people of Southport, in fact, the whole country, is absolutely outraged. I don't know if you've seen, but certain MPs, not surprisingly, Lee Anderson, but also a sensible one in Rupert Law, are now calling for a serious debate on bringing back the death penalty when it's a cut and dry case like this, and there is absolutely no doubt whatsoever who committed the crime. They're calling for a serious debate on it, and I don't blame them because I've always been skeptical about the death penalty, and I've always probably sat on the side of bringing it back in, but only when there is absolutely no room for any sort of doubt whatsoever. And in this case, there wasn't. And in this case, I wouldn't, and I'm sure many people watching this wouldn't shed a tear if this guy was to be put to sleep, shall we say?
Yeah, I agree. I think we need to have a debate about the death penalty. I think we need a new death penalty system fit for the 21st century. Um, when we have this discussion, people straight away go, "Oh, innocent people were hanged in this country." Well, yes, they were. Let's make sure that doesn't happen again. Or they go, "Have you seen America? They're on death row for 30 years." Da, da, da. Well, let's not copy the American system then. We need a new system, and we need something that stops innocent people being killed. And my system that I've been thinking about for several years would involve several criteria. So the crime would have to be caught on camera, CCTV, mobile phone, so we can see the person doing it. There would have to be so many witnesses, independent witnesses, who can point to the person and say it was him that did it. And there has to be compelling DNA evidence. We've got technology now that stops a lot of these mistakes happening. But then people will say, you can't trust the police. And do you know what? You probably can't trust all the police all the time. So what happens if the police are planting evidence? Well, we get over that. But first of all, they can't plant CCTV evidence and create witnesses that don't exist, but they could plant DNA, and they've done that in the past. So what we do is bring a new law in that basically states anyone interfering in a capital punishment case, if they get caught lying, cheating, planting evidence, it's called attempted murder, and the sentence for that is the death penalty. I'm quite happy.
Be quite a deterrent, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that would stop the cops, any cops, even with the best intentions of doing anything, because they're putting their life on the risk. And the reason why I want a death penalty is for revenge, isn't to punish the person anymore, because I'd like to think I'm a compassionate person, a kind person. I want a death penalty for two reasons. First of all, it puts that person out of their suffering and misery. Being locked up for 52 years is torture. And I don't want to torture this scumbag. I just want to put him out of his misery like we would do a rabid dog. Get it over and done with, put him out of his misery. The other benefit is it's going to save us tens of millions of pounds. That's how much it's going to cost us to lock him up for 52 years, tens of millions of pounds. Let's save that money and stop his suffering and end it.
And yeah, and locking him up for that long to what end? He's not what they've. I know that they're sticking to this stupid UN convention or whatever that says we can't give someone who's under 18 a life sentence. Personally, I think at the time you're in court, what's a week? You know, the guy was on what 13 days off being 18 anyway. He's now 18. He should have got a full life term anyway, if as we don't have the death penalty. But it's going to cost the taxpayer £51,000 a year ish to keep him in prison for 52 years. I mean, what is the point? They've basically given him a whole life tariff without actually saying they're giving him a whole life tariff. It's very unlikely that someone's going to survive prison, especially given the crimes that he's committed, to the age of, well, I think he'd be 69 by the time he's eligible for parole, which he probably wouldn't get anyway, you'd like to think. So what's the point in keeping him there? You're absolutely right. I mean, don't get me wrong. If he suffers, and I hope he does suffer, and maybe I'm a bit more harsh than you. I hope he does suffer. I hope prisoners do get hold of him, and I hope he gets a serious beating. I hope he gets the Ian Huntley treatment or something like that. And I really wouldn't have a single ounce of sympathy for him whatsoever. But yeah, to live like that for the next 52 years, part of me says, well, you deserve it. You deserve everything you get. Um, but then again, all that money we're going to spend on keeping him in prison for what? What's the point?
Exactly. There is no point keeping him alive, keeping him in prison. Now, you just said,
Sorry to interrupt you, Ian. I was just trying to think of the name. Ian Brady, wasn't it? He was alive for years on a tube because he went on hunger strike, and they just kept him alive there till he died on this tube. Why? Well, just take the tube out, and or let him take the tube out when you're not looking at something. Let him die. What's the point?
is it absolutely, absolutely. These people will never be allowed back into society, and they're going to be a financial drain on us. And like I said, it's mental torture. We're torturing them. And I don't want to torture people for the fun of it or to punish them. I just want it over. Now, you just said it's £51,000 a year to keep a prisoner. That's an average prisoner. A category A prisoner is between 80 and £100,000 a year. He's going to cost even more than that because he's got mental health issues. People are going to want to kill him. So he's going to be costing hundreds of thousands of pounds a year to keep him safe and alive. And you know what? We could spend that money somewhere else, couldn't we?
Yeah, of course we could, yeah. We could build a monument to those children, for example, in Southport. That'd be a good way to spend the money. But I really, they won't do it, will they? But I would love to see people like this, and all your paedophiles and that they're kept away, aren't they, from the general population? Which I understand why. I just throw them in with the rest, me. Honest to God, I just throw them in with the rest and just say, you asked for this, and you're gonna have to live with it. And the amount of money, you're quite right to say it, the amount of money they spend on keeping these people safe, some of the scum of the earth, keeping them safe, is just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, has he got dual citizenship? Could he? I know he was born here, but his parents weren't. Could he just be sent off to Rwanda again?